The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Plus! Sorry! I got so distracted what I was going to say about, Joining me today is a man who, he's feeling a little off his rocker, I think. Welcome, Jacob.
But yes, a little bit off my rocker. You're like, I gotta hold this hand down. No, you are not going to. No. Why, thank you. Let me introduce our co-host. A man who was just be like, he was itching. He just took a one-way trip on a bomb. Welcome trip.
Okay. Joining us also tonight is a person who's probably wondering what on earth he's walked into. Welcome, Dallas from Geek Devotions.
Woo! What's going on, guys? Happy to be aboard. I pulled Plan R, like you told me to, Drew. I'm not sure why I'm pulling Plan R, though.
I don't have a good comeback for that. Is this like the only R I can think of is retro, and I don't think he's involved in this episode.
No. Where's that Roy? Where is he?
I mean, he's in the chat, but past that.
Hi, Roy.
Yeah, Plan Roy. That's what I should have called him.
Roy.
Why don't we just get into our spoiler-free thoughts on this?
Yes.
Certified fresh and spoiler-free.
Dallas, why don't you start us off?
Spoiler-free conversation about this amazing film that we're watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, so spoiler-free is hard to do because there's so much to this film.
Mm-hmm. It's like an onion.
Can we talk about how just beautiful the film is?
Yeah.
Like,
It's very well shot.
like the cinematography of this film, like I love this. Like, it's when you think of artistic films, this is the film that you want to talk about right here.
Yes.
So you have seen this before.
Oh yes, many times. In fact, I first watched it in college because I was taking a film class, and we were told, "Hey, you should watch this film, and we will discuss the angles and the lighting situations for it."
Alrighty. Jacob, what are your spoiler-free thoughts?
Well, to be frank, this is the first time I ever watched the film. I had heard of the film. I had heard of, it's Dr. Strangelove, and it's in black and white. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. What is this about? Had no idea who the director was at the time. And I was like, okay, my dad never watched it. And I was like, okay.
Because I told you nothing other. I just handed you
nothing.
the Blu-ray and said, watch this film.
Yeah, have fun. No,
Was it a Blu-ray at the time?
technically,
Yeah.
Was it a Blu-ray at the time?
yeah, it's a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Because it was literally like, we'd been recording the show, I think. We were in our second year.
yeah,
And I think I mentioned Dr. Strangelove for whatever reason. You said you hadn't watched it.
and
So I turned around, picked up my copy, handed it to you, and said, watch this.
about a year later, I'm watching it.
And I forgot he had my copy.
Yeah.
Until, what was it, 2 months ago? We were
Yeah.
talking about, okay, we need to schedule the next Cellcast Plus
Yeah.
episode. What do you want to record? And we were going back and forth, and you mentioned, well, we could always watch that Dr. Strangelove movie you let me borrow. I says, you have my Dr. Strangelove? I said, yeah, why don't we do that? It's like, yeah, put it on the list for a vote. It says, we are not putting this on a list for a vote. We're reviewing this film. I'm putting my foot down on this one.
The boot has been stumped.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly Dallas, cinematography wise, beautiful film. Direction, I think at this point I've watched 3 Stanley Kubrick films so far, and the comedic timing, it is a beautiful satire of terrible, horrible things. But I enjoy the film. I'm not in plans right now but I'm wanting to buy my own copy of this film. And it's like, yes, I love this film. I can't believe it's taking me this, but yes, that is my spoiler-free thoughts on this film.
I have no idea how many times I've watched this film. Because I know, I think my dad wanted me to watch this when I was in junior high. I think we watched it once while my mom was out somewhere on like a trip with the girls or something, and we were home alone doing what we called a buddy pal night. And he put the movie, we either rented the movie or it was recorded off of on a DVR or something, whatever the process was, or maybe it was just happened to be coming on TV. I don't know. And says, we're watching this film, and I said, okay. And we watched the whole film all the way through. And I was like, well, this is interesting. I think I'm a little too young to get what's funny about this as a dark comedy.
Yes.
But I've watched it off and on for the past couple years. And I even got a chance to go see it in a theater for, I think it's 50th anniversary.
Wow.
So yeah, this is one of my favorite films.
I gotta
So
ask, is the copy you have, is it the Criterion Collection version?
it
Or
is,
is it
yeah,
just
it is the Criterion Collection version.
I'm gonna come over to Tyler and watch this with you guys.
Oh, rock on. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Guys,
I just got a basic DVD copy that I got like 100 years ago. And I've heard stories that the Criterion Collection is just like really primo quality.
It's really crisp.
So nice.
It's a really crisp. If you've watched the Criterion Godzilla movie, right?
Yeah.
Criterion, it's about that high quality.
Nice.
So
Very nice.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to make it like a movie night out of it.
Yeah. And by Tyler, I assume you mean Jacksonville, but
I'm not trying to dox you.
Yeah, thanks for that.
like we haven't said this 100 times. How many places around here have a Berkshire Brothers?
Quite a few, actually.
A lot of them are south of here.
That is true, but nuance.
Anywho. So yeah, there's not much more spoiler free than we can get into this.
No, you really
I
can't.
will give a warning though. This is a lot of sexual innuendo throughout the film. Just a bit. If you're sensitive to that, maybe give this one a skip.
Yeah.
Especially, and maybe not give your let your younger kids watch this. Not that I think they'd be interested in it anyway.
Right.
So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into our spoiler-filled thoughts. The following is a spoiler-filled review for the movie Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Listener discretion is advised. Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, which sounds like an anime isekai title the more I say it, was written and directed by Stanley Kubrick. And he also has directed, of course, 2001: A Space Odyssey, along with many other films.
Yes.
It was also written by Terry Southern and Peter George, and is based on the book Red Alert by Peter George. Cast includes Peter Sellers playing Group Captain Lionel Mandrake, President Merkin Muffley, and Dr. Strangelove. And he, of course, was the original Inspector Jacques Clouseau in the Pink Panther series. George C. Scott plays General Buck Turgidson, and listeners to our show will remember him as McLeach in The Rescuers Down Under.
What's the line that
I didn't make it all the way through the third grade for nothing. That's the one you're thinking of, I
yes,
bet.
I am.
Sterling Hayden played Brigadier General Jack D. Ripper, and he played Captain McCluskey in The Godfather. Keenan Wynn played Colonel Bat Guano, and he played Captain Cully in The Last Unicorn.
Really?
Yeah.
Right on.
Slim Pickens played Major King Kong, and he played a character named Taggart in Blazing Saddles. Peter Bull played Russian Ambassador Alexei de Sadetsky, and he was the captain of the Louisa in the movie The African Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy Reed played Mrs. Scott, aka Mrs. Foreign Affairs, on the Playboy cover. And she played the character of Dominique Ballin in A Shot in the Dark, the second Pink Panther film that's not actually got the Pink Panther name on it.
Really?
Yeah, but it is a Pink Panther film. Just doesn't include the Panther. Last but not least was the acting debut of one James Earl Jones, who played Lieutenant Lothar Zod. And he is most well known, of course, for playing Darth Vader in Star Wars.
That blew my mind when I saw him on screen. I forgot he was in the film.
Yeah,
I have like it's him every time I watch this.
He looks so young in this.
Yeah, I was watching there again. I didn't know James Jones was in this film, and I'm watching him like, wait a minute. He pops his head out like, wait a minute, it's not who I think it is. And he talks. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's James Earl Jones.
Yeah, once you know it's him, it's like, yeah, that's James Earl Jones.
That's him.
And he was actually our only Kingdom Hearts connection, because they used archival audio from The Lion King for like a couple scenes in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, okay. Fair.
I respect that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Jacob, what do we have in info and stuff?
All right. So info and stuff. IMDb, it is an 8.4 out of 10. You can watch it on YouTube for $3.99, or you can go and buy the Criterion Collection on, I think, Amazon right now for like 30 some bucks, which is not a bad price for a Criterion version, I think. But going forward, production was from Hawk Films. Distribution by Columbia Pictures, was released on January 23rd, 1964, going into the box office. It had an estimated budget of $1.8 million. Its opening weekend was January 7th. That's not right. It's lovely when you're writing notes and you quickly realize, be like, oh, this is the re-release. So the re-release was in 1994, and
the original would have been 1967.
Yeah, which I can't find that information anywhere.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, that was fun. So I'm looking at the re-release in the 90s. So it had a opening for 1994 release was 11. I'm assuming this was $11.7 million. I could be wrong. No, correction. It's $1,150,000. It grossed US 9.7 million, and worldwide it was 9.5. I can't find any information on its home release, but there was a sequel in talks of. So, if I can get through this one, in 1995, Kubrick enlisted Terry Southerner to script a sequel titled Son of Strangelove. Kirk and Terry Gilman in mind to direct. The script was never fully completed, but index cards laid out the story's basic structure and found among Southern's papers after his death in October 1995. It was set largely in an underground bunker where Doctor Strangelove,
different character,
obviously, had taken refuge with a large group of women.
At least 10, I assume.
You would think, but yeah. No. Mm-mm.
All right, getting into the summary of this film. United States Air Force Brigadier General Jack D. Ripper is commander of Burleson Air Force Base, which houses the 843rd Bomb Wing, flying B-52 bombers armed with hydrogen bombs. The planes are on airborne alert 2 hours from their targets inside the USSR. General Ripper orders his executive officer, Group Captain Lionel Mandrake, an exchange officer from the Royal Air Force, to put the base on alert, confiscate all privately owned radios from base personnel, and issue Wing Attack Plan R to the patrolling bombers. All the aircraft commence attack flights on the USSR and set their radios to allow communications only through their CRM-114 discriminators, which are designed to accept only communications preceded by a secret 3-letter code known only to General Ripper. Happening upon a radio that had been missed earlier, and hearing normal civilian broadcasting, Mandrick realizes that no attack order has been issued by the Pentagon and tries to stop Ripper, who locks them both in his office. Ripper tells Mandrick that he believes the Soviets have been fluoridating American water supplies to pollute the precious bodily fluids of Americans. Mandrick realizes Ripper has become insane. In the war room of the Pentagon, General Buck Turgidson briefs General Merkin Muffley and other officers about how Plan R enables a senior officer to launch a retaliatory nuclear attack on the Soviets if all superiors have been killed in a first strike on the United States. It would take 2 days to try every CRM code combination to issue a recall order, so Lieutenant Muffley orders the U.S. Army to storm the base and arrest General Ripper. Turgidson, noting the slim odds of recalling the planes in time, then proposes that Muffley not only let the attack continue, but send reinforcements. According to an unofficial study, this would result in modest and acceptable civilian casualties from the badly damaged and uncoordinated Soviet military that would remain after the initial attack. Muffley refuses this plan and instead brings Soviet Ambassador Alexei Day Sadetsky into the war room to telephone Soviet Premier Dmitry Kisov on the hotline. Muffley warns the premier of the impending attack and offers to reveal the targets, flight plans, and defensive systems of the bombers so that the Soviets can protect themselves. After a heated discussion with the premier, the ambassador informs President Muffley that the Soviet Union created a doomsday machine as a nuclear deterrent. It consists of many buried bombs jacketed with cobalt thorium G, which are set to detonate automatically should any nuclear attack strike the country. The resulting nuclear fallout would then engulf the planet for 93 years, rendering the Earth's surface uninhabitable. The device cannot be deactivated as it is programmed to explode if any such attempt is made. The president's wheelchair-using scientific advisor, former German Nazi Dr. Strangelove, points out that a doomsday machine would only be an effective deterrent if everyone knew about it. Alexei replies that the Soviet premier had planned to reveal its existence to the world the following week at the Party Congress, because he likes surprises. U.S. Army troops arrive at Burleson and battle with the garrison. After General Ripper commits suicide, Mandrick identifies Ripper's CRM code from the desk blotter and relays it to the Pentagon. Using the code, Strategic Air Command successfully recalls all the bombers except for one, commanded by Major T.J. King Kong, due to the radio equipment being damaged in a missile attack. The Soviets attempt to find it, but Kong has the bomber attack at a closer target due to dwindling fuel. As the plane approaches the new target, a Soviet ICBM site, the crew is unable to open the damaged bomb bay doors. Kong enters the bay and repairs the electrical wiring while straddling an H-bomb, whereupon the doors open and the bomb is dropped. Kong joyously hoots and waves his cowboy hat as he rides the falling bomb to his death. Back in the war room, Dr. Strangelove recommends that the president gather several 100,000 people to live in deep underground mines where the radiation will not penetrate. He suggests a 10-to-1 female-to-male ratio for a breeding program to repopulate the Earth once the radiation has subsided, a plan which gathers enthusiastic support from an all-male command staff. Worried that the Soviets will do the same, Turgidson warns about a mine shaft gap while Alexei secretly photographs the war room. Dr. Strangelove declares he has a plan, then suddenly rises from the wheelchair and exclaims, "Mein Führer, I can walk!" The film cuts to a montage of nuclear explosions accompanied by Vera Lynn's rendition of the song We'll Meet Again. Getting into the trivia for this film, Peter Sellers was paid $1 million, 55% of the film's budget. Stanley Kubrick famously quipped, "I got 3 for the price of 6.
Fair.
Fair.
So, General Ripper was worried about the fluoridation of water.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Water fluoridation is actually a thing, and we have all been drinking fluoridated water.
I've heard of it, yes.
Do you know what it is in reality?
Not really, no.
Fluoride in the water for your
Yeah,
Fluoride.
Water
That's what I thought.
fluoridation is the process of adding fluoride to the water supply so the level reaches approximately 0.7 parts per million or 0.7 milligrams of fluoride per liter of water. This is the optimal level for preventing tooth decay.
Yep.
That is the entire reason that fluoridation of water happens.
Yes.
It is not a secret commie plot that we know of.
That we know of.
While shooting aerial footage over Greenland, the second unit camera crew accidentally filmed a secret U.S. military base. Their plane was forced down and the crew was suspected of being Soviet spies.
Ba-dum-ba-bum.
The scene where General Turgidson trips and falls in the war room and then gets back up and resumes talking as if nothing happened really was an accident. Stanley Kubrick mistakenly thought it was George C. Scott really in character, so he left it in the film.
Fair.
This film led to actual changes in policy to ensure that the events depicted could never really occur in real life. Initially, the U.S. government dismissed Stanley Kubrick's scenario of an accidental nuclear war as too far-fetched. However, the scene where Group Captain Mandrake is trying to get through to the Pentagon with the code to recall the bombers, but doesn't have enough change for the payphone, was shown at a session of Congress. Members said it raised legitimate questions about whether crucial information could find its way to the right people during a nuclear crisis. In the early 1960s, the B-52 was cutting-edge technology. Access to it was a matter of national security. The Pentagon refused to lend any support to the film after they read the script. There's a surprise.
Fair.
Set designers, however, reconstructed the B-52 bomber's cockpit from a single photograph that appeared in a British flying magazine. When some American Air Force personnel were invited to view the movie's B-52 cockpit, they said it was a perfect copy. Stanley Kubrick feared that Ken Adams' production design team had used illegal methods and could be investigated by the FBI.
Wow.
Vera Lynn's climactic song We'll Meet Again is identified in its Wikipedia entry as one of the songs distributed in the BBC's wartime broadcasting service with the intention of improving morale in the event of a nuclear exchange.
Oh.
Wow.
The movie was originally going to end with a pie fight occurring in the war room.
Yes.
During the deleted pie fight scene, President Muffley took a pie to the face and fell down, prompting General Turgidson to cry, "Gentlemen, our gallant young president has just been struck down in his prime." Had not Stanley Kubrick already decided to cut the pie fight by the time President John F. Kennedy was assassinated, the line, or possibly the entire sequence, probably still would likely have been cut due to its eerie similarity to actual events.
Oh my goodness.
The ninth nuclear explosion shot in the end sequence is the U.S. nuclear test Baker from Operation Crossroads, the first post-war nuclear tests on the Bikini Atoll. Shot number 14 is Able from the same operation, and shot number 15 is Trinity, the first atomic explosion ever.
Wow.
The reason why Major Kong climbs into the bomb bay is to manually hotwire the bay doors to open, but when he rides the bomb down, his shouts would not have been heard due to the vacuum of the air being sucked out of his throat, much akin to a skydiver.
Oh.
The scene where Major Kong rides the missile most likely was inspired by a similar scene in the movie The Adventures of Baron Munchausen from 1943, where the title character rides a cannonball into a building. Towards the climax of the film, a Coca-Cola machine is shot to obtain coin change for the payphone. During much of the 1980s, Columbia Pictures, which released this film, was owned by the Coca-Cola Company. The 50 caliber model 1919 described in the plot synopsis as used by Sterling Hayden is actually a 30 caliber model 1919. The 50 caliber has a different designation and is in fact much larger than the 30 caliber. And that's what I got for trivia. So Dallas, what are your thoughts? What was your first like for this film?
My first like for this film, I talked about it a minute earlier, was the cinematography of the film the entire way through. It's just a beautiful film. Every shot you could tell was very meticulously put together. It wasn't haphazardly thrown in. Kubrick really thought about angles, lighting. Lighting's a big deal, especially with the black and white film. And this is the 60s. It's not like he couldn't just do a color film. He made the conscious choice to go, I'm going to shoot a black and white film. And the thing about black and white film is that when you do it, you have to plan for shadows. Things don't look the same when you film color. That's the reason why in the original Superman series, the Superman suit was gray. It was a black and white suit. If you ever saw it in real life, because colors don't come off right on black and white film.
You got to adjust for them.
It's the same reason why in the black and white episodes of WandaVision, they had Vision, when he was in his robot form, had blue skin instead of his normal red.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's
looks
one
better
of
on
those-
screen.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I appreciate the detail. The way that the background was always blown out. The war room. Holy crap. That's just a cool looking scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just the epicness of it. You're like even though it was comedy and it was a satire, you felt the gravity of that room.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Jacob, what's your first line?
My first thought is actually going to one performance in particular, because I know we talked about it last night.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take one part, and it is George C. Scott's performance as General Buck Turkison.
Yeah. Turgison.
Turgison. I was close.
However you say it.
Turgison. Thank you very much. The fact that like every scene he is in, he is eating the scene beyond belief and over the top, like completely like blown out character of who he is, everything that's going on. Yeah, the comics are doing this. So I enjoyed it so much. It was like, oh my gosh. And I'll get into my second like in a few minutes when we get through this. But it was the fact that Stanley Kubrick was notorious for taking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of takes, far as I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so be like, apparently when he was doing with George C. Scott, he was like, okay, do it this one way, do it this way, do it this way, like tone it down a little bit, and then go completely bonkers with this scene. And so apparently he took all the exaggerated scenes and made that the character, and George C. Scott was not happy about that at all. He was fuming because he was like, it's like, yeah, I'm an actor like this, and he's just like, wow, and crazy.
It's a good impression.
Like, you're welcome. I love this character every time in this, like, but the fact that like you have one actor alone is playing three characters, and at one point he was supposed to play four.
Well, we hadn't got to him yet.
Well, yeah, I know that, but I'm just like I'm saying, but like it's just like George C. Scott's character is like every time he's on scene, every time he's on screen, is to me was gold, because I was like, oh my gosh, what is this character gonna do? And I think it was in one of the commentaries that like he is a obviously he's a a top press kind of man, but he's this like he has this more like a childlike mentality in a lot of ways. Like when he's talking to his his mistress on the phone, be like, like, I can't come. Be like, yeah, be like, I'll be back. And be like, yeah, I can't leave because my boss is right here. So yeah. So this was just a fun experience watching George C. Scott as his character, and his over the top performance was absolutely just golden.
I'm surprised you didn't talk about the scene where he's explaining if they have a chance to actually make it through the radar, and he's so excited about talking about this bomber.
Yes,
getting through the radar.
You get way too hyped about that.
The way you could deliver this news that we're all doomed.
Oh yeah, the one line that always got me was like, it's like, yeah, what was it? It's like, yeah, worst case scenario, be like, yeah, we got like 60 million people, like total loss, tops. That's all. give or take. I was like, what the heck?
This dude was insane. Absolutely
exactly.
Insane.
Like everybody in this movie, they're nuts.
I think I read somewhere someone said there's only two sane characters in the entire film. Mandrake and the president. Everyone else is nuts.
Yeah, I'm sure the president was sane, to be perfectly honest.
Near the end, I think I would agree. I think he was being led straight to the madhouse.
Yeah, a little bit.
His advisors certainly were taking him there.
Right.
But as a transition, it's like my first like actually is Peter Sellers' performance, not just as Mandrake and the president, but also Dr. Strangelove himself.
Yes.
Because if you did not know that was the same actor, you wouldn't know.
No,
from the performance. There's a little bit of similarity in the face, of course, because it's the same actor.
Yeah, but
they did such a good job of separating these three characters. The only one that reminded me of anything was Mandrake looking a little too much like Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther.
Right.
But that's just
That's
So good.
that's the beauty of that actor. And
Yeah,
like, you know,
agreed.
we make jokes for years about, Clark Kent puts on puts on eyeglasses, and all of a sudden, nobody can tell he's not Superman, right?
Mhm.
But that's really what Sellers did, is that he
Yeah.
just dressed the way he presents himself.
Mhm.
He was these characters. Like, he was
Yeah.
so talented. And like you said, the entire time you're like, is this the same person, or did they get another actor?
It kind of looks like it, but how do you find 3 people that look this much alike and put them in the same film?
Yeah.
And he was supposed to play Kong also,
Yeah.
which makes sense. It's kind of weird that he wasn't, but the reason he didn't do it, he had misgivings about playing a Texan because he wasn't sure he could actually pull off the voice where it didn't sound hokey.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's why they hired Slim Pickens to do the role, because as his voice went out as they were getting ready to film those scenes. That was the other reason.
And wasn't one of the reasons that he broke his foot?
Yeah, that he couldn't fit in the set.
Yeah,
there.
like because they were doing some kind of set
Mhm.
with the drop when he was going to drop. It was like 15-foot of drop, and he actually fell.
Right. So
And broke his
that's why they hired Slim Pickens, and
Yeah.
of course Slim Pickens just had to talk the normal way, and he could sound exactly like a Texan.
Right. And so
I
Go ahead.
did read that Earl Jones thought that Slim Pickens was staying in character offset,
Mhm.
yeah,
and he did not realize that's that dude's actual voice.
Yeah,
Like, he's just a good old boy from West Texas. That's all that is.
that's
Yeah.
all that is.
that's all it is. So for me, like all 3 of these characters, like I did not realize, like probably like midway through this film, it
Mhm.
clicked. I did not realize that Peter Sellers was playing all 3 of these characters. I was like, wait a. It's like, oh my god, he's all 3 characters.
You're welcome for not telling you.
Yeah, thank you
about
very much. I
anything about
appreciate
this
that.
film.
I do. I really appreciate
beforehand.
that. I was like, and there's, I'll get there with my second like, but oh my gosh, I've seen characters like they do like 1 or 2 characters,
Mhm.
and they may be similar, but all 3 of these characters are completely different.
Yeah.
So separate as each other. Like you have the British colonel, the crazy Nazi scientist, and the president.
Yeah.
It's just so diversely different as characters, and
Right.
it's one incredible actor playing
Mhm.
all 3.
Yeah. If I could fan cast Dr. Strangelove as a different actor, what do you guys think about Gene Wilder?
I could see this from
Yeah.
Young Frankenstein, because he has a lot of great.
There are moments where I thought it
faces
was
in
Gene Wilder.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I'm not. I can't see him saying some of those things, but granted, but I could see him in the role.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he could pull off that German accent though.
You never know. Oh,
Anyway.
Yes.
So Dallas, what's your second like for this film?
Yeah, so my second like for the film is just the jokes within it. Like, just all throughout the subtle jokes, even like down to people's names, like Jack D. Ripper.
Mhm.
And they were so well crafted. And what was great is that everyone played the jokes as straight as they could.
Yeah.
Like,
Agree.
like you're watching this and you're like, are they really saying this?
Uh-huh.
Like, is my dude really like going crazy, getting excited about how they're just all doomed because his boys can fly that B-52 like nobody's business?
Yeah.
And just throughout the entirety of the film, like the comedy hits just right, especially if you pay attention. Some of it was definitely jokes where you have to pay attention, but
Yeah. There's a lot
the
of
comedy was
subtle
great.
jokes in
Yes,
this.
there are.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, you're
No.
good.
I was just commenting.
Yeah, I was all I had was just the jokes, man. They landed just all the way through the film. They're great jokes. I'm not a huge dark comedy fan,
Mhm.
but these land nicely.
Agreed.
Jacob, what's your second like?
Mine kind of follows in what Dallas just said. It's a beautiful dark satire.
Mhm.
And to be honest, to be transparent, be like, I'm watching this movie, and there again for our listeners and the people who watched and have listened to Movie of the Week podcast. I've never been a big fan of movies that take itself way too serious and trying to be a comedy.
Galaxy Quest.
Maybe, just maybe. So
He has no taste, but yet he has good taste.
Take that back, good man.
So you have no taste. B, you have good taste. I don't know. C, I don't know what any of that means mixed together. So
Yeah, it's all crazy, man. Just completely crazy. I don't know what's going on here.
I still think you were just not in a good mood when you watched that.
That could have been. You never know.
You weren't in the right
I guess I'm going to have to repent and go back and rewatch the film.
Give it time. I'll force you to watch it again.
But yeah, this is a beautiful dark satire. So I'm, to be honest, being transparent, be like, I'm in the middle of this film and I'm watching. I'm like, this is crazy. What's going on? And it's like I'm enjoying it this entire time. I'm like, I have to pause it. I sit back and just laugh the hardest laugh. Be like, oh my god, I can't believe it. This is a satire. I did not get it. I'm sitting there thinking, and like, because in my mind, they're like, oh my gosh, this is real serious. But then all the like quirky little jokes and the overacting, I'm like, what in the world's going on? And then my mind clicks. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a satire. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
And
showing the ridiculousness of how we launched the atomic missiles.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. It's just to be like there again, like how Dallas said, like how the jokes fall perfectly and be like, you believe the characters. They're all like most of the acting itself is overacting, and it's just beautifully, wonderfully executed, and the jokes, like Alice said, they fall perfect. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, where has this movie been all my life? This is great. So I do have taste. Thank you very much. You need me. Yeah.
So my second like is going to take a little bit of explanation, because the way I'm going to word this sounds like it should be a dislike. But it's not, because I actually like how it's used here. And that's the fact that the film doesn't have a resolution. It stops at the start of another part of the downward spiral. Granted, we didn't see this part of the downward spiral at the beginning because we were getting ready to, actually have the attack hit. But they're getting ready to repeat everything that happened all the way back to the end of what happened with what do you say, the bomb race, the space race, and the peace race, and now we're getting to the mine shaft race.
Right.
It's going to be the same thing again. That's why it just kind of stops,
Right.
instead of like actually coming to an actual resolution. It's like if this is a song, it's about to loop again. And I like how it just when I first watched this, or at least when I watched it this last time, that was actually an issue I thought about. But the more I thought about it, it's like, that is actually brilliant, because the entire part of what this movie is trying to get at, Ripper actually says fairly early on that he says this one guy said war was too important to be left in the hands of generals. I think it's too important to be left in the hands of politicians. And I'm thinking, maybe a war is too important to be left in anyone's hands.
True.
So that the fact that it was just going to keep spiraling out of control after this, which I think is what Kubrick was trying to get at, because it was starting up again as they were talking about, we can't allow a mine shaft gap. It's like, this is just starting up again, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's how this is that's how the sequel would have gone. It would be actually looking at the mine shaft gap. So I like how it just kind of doesn't actually resolve anything. It's like, no, we're gonna keep going down because this is just where it ends. That's why we're now just going to show, because even if we had gone into the pie scene, the pie fight scene, which would have taken place almost immediately after Strangelove stood up, and I can see why that would not have worked, because that would have just gotten too silly, I think. But stopping right there, it just felt like, yeah, this is all you need to see, because it's just going to repeat itself. And I like that. I like that we trust you to kind of put the connections together, say, yeah, it's not going to end at this rate. So yeah, that's my second like.
That's fair. And I think that's part of the beauty of Kubrick's film is that it's causing to you to think. Like that's the point of all of his films, is to think deeper, think about the themes that are going through it. And so I can see that being a like. And you're right, it is a great setup on how he talks about the circle of things. If I could, I like to make that my segue into my dislike, though.
Go right ahead. I was about to ask what your first dislike was.
Wow, it's a great way that he did it. What makes satire great, in my opinion, is that it presents the obvious problem, but also presents, in some fashion, the solution to the problems that you see taking place. And normally it's pointed out in a humorous way. And there was never a solution presented throughout the entirety of the film. It was just like, Kubrick was doing was like, look how stupid everything is. Like throughout the entirety of the movie, there was nobody there who was genuinely rational and sane that could point out this is the answer. Maybe you might be able to make a case for Mandrake and him trying to talk some sense into Ripper a few times, but there was never a potentiality for a solution for everyone to walk into. Which I think would play great because that would have added to the satire of itself. And that because again, a lot of the themes here is that the government is ignorant and the government is causing these issues, and they're going to cause a cycle of stuff taking place, and they have a tendency to ignore obvious answers at the same time. So I think that having a character or two who introduces the solution and them just be completely ignored would have been a fantastic way, or would have added just straight into it while continuing the conversation of a good satire. And again, I'm coming from a point of view of somebody who enjoys political satire. Years and years ago, I actually wrote a paper on political satire going all the way back to old newspapers and stuff like that. And again, you have the humorous point out the issue, but good satire also that has a point says, here's the answer, and tries to show a direction to people, because otherwise it's just complaining.
Jacob, what's your first dislike?
I'd be like this.
Right, hang on. Did you finish your dislike, Dallas?
Yeah, I finished my dislike.
Okay.
my first dislike. This is hard because this movie is so well done.
Oh yeah,
and it's beautiful. It'd be like there again, cinematography, acting, script, satire, the whole enchilada. Like the only thing I can put any kind of qualm against is that the innuendos are just, it's like it's so saturated. It's just like, really we're going there. I understand, be like, this is a worldly movie and it's talking about stuff of that nature. And
the idea of repopulating the species is something that would come up.
Yeah, of course. But this is like the entire, sexual innuendos are throughout the entire film, from your opening to your closing. And it's just like, at some point, I'm just like, I'm getting disgusted at it. I'm like, really? And it's just,
it gets to a point, it's like, am I getting Freudian with this? Because I'm seeing innuendo everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Like
you weren't. It was Kubrick. Let me just throw this in. This is my second dislike, is the amount of innuendos, and this is more of a critique of Kubrick. He had an obsession with doing films to talk about the problems with people's sexuality. He believed everyone had an obsession with sex in some fashion. So you look at his previous movies, Lolita, this one, Dr. Strangelove, Eyes Wide Shut, even Full Metal Jacket, and Clockwork Orange, all of them, these psychotic things that also, like, there's often this underbed of going, well, the real problem is everyone is sex craved or obsessed. And that was Drew or Jacob, thank you, because that is legitimately one of my biggest annoyances of the whole thing is Kubrick's obsession with something that I think he makes a bigger deal of than he really should.
Yeah, agreed. And it kind of plays into like our modern culture, even now that our culture is so obsessed with sexuality and tying our very nature, identity with our sexuality, or our chosen sexuality. And it's so sad. It's like, why do you choose to identify yourself with your sexual preference over like who God created you? And like, Kubrick the entire time. Everything has like these huge, massive sexual innuendos, and it's just like I said before, the movie itself, by the end of it, I'm thinking in my heart and my soul, it's like this is the pride, this is the pravity beyond belief. Be like, understand, be like the world might end, you might have to repopulate the planet, but these guys get so so wrapped up in like, oh my gosh, I get to do this and I get to do this, and the lustful desires of their heart is being fulfilled, or the lust of their hearts are being like overflowed with the possibilities. And I'm like, you pigs, you absolute pigs. And it's just like I'm be like, obviously we're all guys here, and be like, we all have desires, we all have like it happens, but it's just this like, it drove me nuts by the end of this film. I'm like, really? And like you said, Dallas, with Kubrick and his obsession with the having subjects over sexuality. And it's like the deeper you get into your relationship with Christ, the more you realize and be like, man, can I get away from this world?
Yeah.
And you see the depravity and be like, obviously you see it now because it's all over the place. It's right in your face nowadays. But like back then, it wasn't, but it was. But at the same time,
in the back rooms back then. Now it's in your pocket.
Yeah. But
it used to be behind the beaded curtain. Now it's on the cell phone.
Yeah. Or on the street corner. And it's just sad. And it's not where we need to pick it and be like, oh, you people are deprived, you're going to hell. But go to him and be like, hey, Jesus loves you, and be like, if you turn to him, you turn from your wicked ways, be like, your life's gonna be a whole lot better. You're not being driven by your carnal desires, but the fulfillment of what God wants you to do.
Right.
So yeah, that's my first dislike.
So since we all are of the same thought with this point, I might as well jump ahead to what was going to be my second dislike.
Okay.
But I'll come back to my first here in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of course, all the little sexual innuendos throughout this. And in some ways, I think it made a lot of the jokes not land for me. I think part of that also is the simple fact that I've seen this movie so many times by now. It's like I don't even find some of the actual humor humorous anymore. I'm just look how horrible this world is through this one point of view, which scarily enough I can still see happening today. There's a reason why War Games, that movie came out in the 80s because we had the same problem. It was just now on a computer and not in human hands. So, but even without that, in the sexual innuendos just continually coming up over and over. I mean, even the logo that's on the front of the Criterion box,
oh gosh,
has the innuendo on it.
Really?
So yeah, it's one of those things where once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it.
Yeah.
So
I got
leave it at that.
Definitely from a graphic design standpoint or design standpoint, it's like,
oh, I see what you're doing here. Wow, why did I not see this before?
Yeah.
But
once you see it, you can unsee it.
Nope,
yeah,
you can't.
and it makes sense. But I think this was probably like one of the first times where I watched it knowing what was going on. And I don't think I laughed or even giggled like once through the whole thing. I think there's a couple chuckles maybe, but I have to say that at this point in my life, this might be the least funny dark comedy I've seen.
Oh, wow.
Just to put it that way. I know it worked better for y'all, but like I said, I think I've seen this film too many times.
That could be
in recent memory. So because all I could see was look how horrible and depraved all this is.
Yeah.
So since Dallas already kind of gave his second dislike, Jacob, what's yours?
I don't have a second dislike.
Oh, well then we'll just jump back to me then.
Yeah, it's in your corner, pal.
Apparently. This is a very pedantic dislike for this,
Mhm.
but all of the shots of the B-52 model in front of the rear projected
Oh
image
yes.
did not age well in
No.
the slightest. And it would be a little more acceptable had during the opening sequence we not have these beautiful shots of the airplanes refueling, which is very obviously actual shots of airplanes refueling
Yes.
Right.
in midair. So I have that image in my head, and then we go to the shots of the B-52 flying over Greenland, which is supposed to be Russia,
Right.
and I'm going, oh, that looks bad in comparison. Y'all could have done this somehow done this a little bit better. And I guess this is a pedantic thing because I mean, if the opening was different, I wouldn't have noticed or cared. If the quality of the image was better, I probably might not have noticed or cared.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the other things I found out about this is that there are no original prints left of this movie.
Of course, it's a Kubrick film.
Because they overcopied the film originally.
Really?
All we have are like the footprints that were sent to theaters.
No kidding.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And that's what this one was pulled from. So, I mean, there's a little bit of that copied kind of film degradation that's baked in even to the Criterion Blu-ray that kind of just doesn't make it work for me a little, I think. But like I say, I'm being pedantic about this nitpick. So
Sure.
do with that information as you will.
Yeah. As far as I understand, it's like Kubrick, when he passed away, he had like everything that wasn't like the core of that, like all of his films destroyed, like all the hundreds and thousands of tapes.
Supposedly we may have the pie fight out there somewhere, but it's being held in secret.
What I've seen images of the pie fight.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have like a Mandela effect of seeing video footage of the pie fight at some point in time, and this may be purely a Mandela effect type of thing going on.
See, I think I remember it from like watching this on like Turner Classic Movies back in the day, and they showed like 2 seconds of it or a photo of it or something.
Yeah. And
so I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And I can see where your mind would animate those scenes into like creating something in motion.
Yeah.
Right. But that'd be so much fun to watch. And far as I understand, is like Kubrick could be like he realized everybody was smiling too much and they were laughing too much. They're like, yeah, I can't use this shot. It's a great shot, but I can't use it.
Well, and also it's just too silly.
Yeah, I agree.
Apparently, though, like he had like 6 cameras going at all times during the final scene, and parts because he had to keep cutting back and forth because the guys were laughing at Dr. Strangelove's
performance. Yeah. For those of you on the audio version, that was Jacob acting like Dr. Strangelove, trying to keep his phantom hand from doing the Nazi salute.
Right.
Anyway, we need to rate this thing.
Yes.
Dallas, what are you rating this film?
Again, from a cinematic point of view, it's a piece of history, and artistically, it's a beautiful film. Like hands down, it's just absolutely beautiful. Now, the amount of innuendo that's in it, the conversation about depravity that we talked about, which again is one part of the point of the film, but also part of like it. Just Kubrick had an obsession with it. I'm going to give this about a 7 or an 8. Again, it's a great film. I own it because it is a historically important film from a cinematographic. I can't say words today, but from a cinema point of view, it's a important film, and there are jokes that I laugh at. You know, the final scene, my VR, I can walk. Like that was funny. Like it just comes out of nowhere. And it's comedic gold. Now, again, there's some other stuff that was kind of junky, but so yeah, about 7 or 8.
Okay.
Jacob?
I'd say 9.
Jeez Louise.
I had a feeling.
I would definitely give this movie a 9. This is the first time watching this film, and yes, there is such depravity and debauchery talked about this film, and like you said, like the cinematography is golden. The performances are golden. The satire, the dark satire of this film is so rich and thick of just like beautiful writing. And Kubrick's like his eye of cinematography, the way he set things up.
Mhm.
The fact that he shot this all in black and white in the 60s was like, what in the, it was like, wow. Because my first thought was like, okay, it was shot in color and they just converted it. No, they shot it in black and white. It's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, I love this film. So yeah, it's getting a 9. I don't mean a no, I mean a 9.
I am also going to give this film a 9. It is, like I said, this is one of my favorite films, not for the depravity that we talked about, but
exactly
because of the acting, the cinematography, the bits of comedy that I do remember being funny. Because like I said, I think I have seen this film too many times now.
No.
It's a classic. It's one that I think everyone kind of should watch, if for no other reason than to kind of have an idea as to how the Cold War was. Because let's face it, all three of us are too young to remember the Cold War that much. Though with the current situation in Ukraine, who knows how long that'll last. So yeah, anyway, yeah, I'm giving it a 9. So next week, we are going to be reviewing the film Mirai on Netflix, and I have no idea what this is, or if I'm even saying the name correctly.
Yeah, because I remember seeing this because it was like one of the films was coming out this year, or was coming out a couple years ago. And I was like, "Ooh, this sounds interesting. Want to put this on there?" There again, I don't really remember what this movie's about. I just like, "Oh, that looks interesting." So we'll figure it out next week.
Okay, we're going into this one blind, folks.
Yeah.
So yeah, join us on the other side of the bumpers, and we'll be talking about what we've been watching, whatever we got in the news, and possibly an interrogation, and then of course a little bit of X-Men.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
This week, we suggest checking out Geek Devotions. Geek Devotions is a collaboration of devoted geeks that are devoted to letting people know that they are loved. They are not just a podcast. They are an entire network of shows, podcasts, and YouTube videos that are designed to encourage and challenge people in the geek community, bridging the gap between their faith and their geekdoms. They produce a weekly geek culture-infused devotional. There is their podcast, Com Talk. There's another podcast where they read books, allegedly. There's also another podcast where they look through the Gundam Watch. And if you like movies just like we do, you can check out them reviewing bad movies over at the Bottom Shelf. So you can find all their content and more at geekdevotions.com.
The Cellcast would like to thank the following patrons: Ashley and Francisco Ruiz, Book of Gaming, PaulJPowers.com.
And not this person, because I still haven't deleted it from the audio.
To get your name on the show, plus uncut
Let's do it last
episodes,
week.
early access to
I
the
forgot.
Cellcast plus reviews and special art from Jacob, please donate to us on Patreon.
Get on the ball, man. Let's do this.
You realize it's 5 audio files that I have to edit.
I know.
So, guys, I have a question for y'all.
What have you been watching?
Dallas, why don't we start with you?
Oh, what have I been watching? I've been watching several things over the last little bit. I watched Dr. Strangelove. I don't know if you guys know about this film. It's an interesting film.
I've never heard of this film. What are you talking about?
Is that like another new MCU film connected to Doctor Strange?
yeah. You know, it's
I'm kind of tie in between that and Thor, since they have that character named Love on there.
it's part of the What If series that Marvel's doing.
Okay, that makes more sense.
We talked about reviewing those, but we haven't gotten back to him yet.
No, I've been watching some various things. Been watching the Muppet Mayhem on Disney Plus.
I've watched one episode. I need to get back to it.
So I put out this controversial statement. I didn't expect to be controversial, which was, first off, I'm not a huge Muppet fan, and to
Fair.
date, my favorite Muppet film has been To me, the best Muppet film is the Muppets from Space.
I question your thought process there, but we'll continue.
We can have this conversation if you want to on the air. You just let me know.
Let me just state my opinion. It is not the worst Muppet film, but it's not my favorite.
Fair.
It's my favorite, mostly because
the Muppets Most Wanted is the worst Muppet film.
Yeah. So, but like it's mostly the music for me. When I worked at Hollywood Video, I would put that movie in and play it over the thing, and for the next hour and a half, we didn't have stupid customers, because people would chill. They would enjoy the music. We have people dancing in the aisles as they're renting movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the music in Muppets from Space is just my kind of music. It's the R&B soul type of music. And Electric Mayhem, they play a lot of great music, and so I've been enjoying it. It's been funny to watch, and the music's been great for it. And so I've really been enjoying that. I've also been playing a lot of. I've been trying to play a lot of Tears of the Kingdom, and that's been a fascinating game to me.
How far into it are you? Because I think I'm still very much ahead of you.
Oh, you more than likely are, because I've only been able to plug in like today was the first day that I've been able to actually plug in a lot of time. I'm off the floating island, and I'm trying to hit as many of the shrines in that first area after you get your paraglider.
Okay.
And I
want to
just
make sure you got the paraglider first, because that doesn't tell you to go jump on that.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just entered into the Northwest region, trying into Rito Village. Like just before I got on here, I got into Rito Village.
Since you're up there at Rito Village, I'm going to make a suggestion.
Okay.
In the area just south of Rito Village, which is right over the line of on the map, there is the stable that used to be there in the in Breath of the Wild, which is now apparently a newspaper office.
I just stopped in there.
There is a side quest there you need to pick up.
Yes, and apparently I get froggy armor.
Yes. Okay, so you do know about that. Okay, just making sure.
Yep. I ran into that.
I just finished the temple that was causing that blizzard.
Nice.
So
well, I'm interested to see.
I actually finished that on stream.
Nice. Now I'll say this: it's the game is interesting. I'm not going to call out anybody. I have a friend who, a great person, love him to death. They missed the instructions to go talk to Pura and get her glider.
I can understand that.
My friend has gone through and done a ton of the shrines. They've been playing hours on end. They've gotten almost all their abilities, and they still don't have their glider. And they just found they needed the glider on Wednesday.
Oh my word!
Womp, womp, womp.
I've been meaning to ask.
There's a lot of that game. I'm sitting here going, how did you get through that without the glider?
That's what I'm asking. I've been meaning to ask her how she's been doing the towers.
Because that means she hasn't done any of the towers. There's no map.
She's
and if that's the case, you haven't gone into the depths yet, which is where a lot of other cool things are.
So she's a talented individual, but
it happens.
So
yeah, unless you know to follow the quest up to a certain the main quest up to a certain point, I can understand wanting to just when you finally get off the sky that first set of islands. It's like, okay, I'm on the ground, I got freedom, I can go do whatever I want now. Oh, I really should hang tight a little bit for the story. There's a couple things you need to take care of first.
Exactly. So that's what I've been watching and doing as of late.
Jacob.
So I finished the Apple TV special Still. Still.
Oh, distill.
No, still, as in to be still.
So
I still don't know what we're talking about.
Like they make moonshine in Ace?
No. It has to do. It's the Michael J. Fox story.
Yeah,
his documentary. That like, oh my gosh. So they're gonna be like Michael J. Fox. Obviously, we all know from Family Ties, Back to the Future.
I mostly know him from Back to the Future.
That is true.
Fair.
So the fact to be like this movie,
just shoot me.
Yeah, just shoot me. He has Parkinson's. His foundation, Fox, and just the day-to-day struggle of him working through his Parkinson's, his constant positive attitude about it. And it's really inspiring to watch someone who has it'd be like the guy who's a constant joker, be like he falls and like breaks his foot and just making jokes about it the entire time. Just make people laugh because he's always been picked on because he was little. And I found it really, really interesting. It was a really good documentary and highly recommend it. There again, it's on Apple TV. You subscribe to Apple TV. And so I was going through Netflix a couple of days ago. And obviously they've got Arnold Schwarzenegger on a TV show over there. And yes,
I'm aware of the news.
Yes. So
Chief of Action, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Chief of Action. I saw that one. That was interesting. So I stumbled across a movie that I remember watching as a kid, and I was like, this isn't the same film I remember, which would be Conan the Barbarian on Netflix. And oh my gosh, I was like I watched this as a kid. What in the world? Like, I did not realize it had all of this stuff in here. I'm like, huh? What in the world? It's like, okay, this is an interesting film. Be like, yeah, I totally understand why they cast Arnold Schwarzenegger at that time in his career. Be like, he's not like vocally, like he does some talking, but not a lot of talking. He's got one great line. It's like, I can't remember what was it. Be like he's talking to his quote unquote God in air quotes, and be like, call if you like, if you hear me, be like, me like grant me vengeance, and if you don't, the hell with you. And I was like, okay, that was a good line, but overall I was like, okay, this is interesting. And they did a second one, and they're never going to do a third one ever, apparently.
But they did do a cartoon, and that cartoon was lit.
Okay, didn't know about that. Did not know about that. So the third thing I finally got around to finishing was also on Netflix. I believe it was on Netflix. It was on Netflix. Was The Last Dance. This was the Michael Jordan / the
Michael B. Jordan?
No, Michael Jordan.
Oh, okay.
The basketball king.
That's why I was double checking.
Yes. The man, Air Jordan.
I'm just saying there's only one movie I know of off the top of my head that Michael Jordan was in.
Yeah,
Space Jam.
Space Jam. In which they do bring up a little bit here and there, but it's his run from 1992 with the Chicago Bulls to 1998, I believe. And it's that entire run of where they win like 6 championships. And just like this amazing run, you realize be like Michael Jordan, be the constant athlete perfectionist. And it's just like, it was so fascinating to watch this, because there again, that was my era of basketball, was the Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls, the dream team from the Olympics, to like all these amazing moments in basketball history. That's what I knew of basketball. And so like whenever someone says, be like, oh yeah, Kobe Bryant was the best one, or this person is, or whatever, be like, dude, whatever, it's Michael Jordan, shut up. But it's like, yeah, that was the era of basketball I loved, and watching those and remembering those games. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I think it was one game, it was one championship. Be like, he ordered pizza. They were in a certain time. They weren't in Chicago, and he got the pizza, and his handlers were like, dude, I don't know about this. Like 3 guys showed up with this pizza, and Jordan's the only one who eats it and just scarfs it. And he is throwing up. Like, yeah, he got food poisoning, like intentional food poisoning.
No.
And he still played the game.
Oof.
And won the game too.
Gotta respect.
I'm talking about a beast.
That man did not stop ever.
No, he did not. It'd be like if someone dissed him in any fashion or form, that was his fuel for the entire game, and he was going to destroy somebody. I was like, wow. And it was just, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is an amazing documentary. It's like, yeah, if you like basketball, or was like me growing up watching the Chicago Bulls and their run for the NBA title, this was an amazing documentary. I know it came out like a couple of years ago, like last year or something like that. But oh my gosh, I love it. It was so good. And yeah, other than that, though, like watching this movie, and a lot of true crime, like usual.
There's a
true
surprise.
Surprise to nobody. So yeah. What about you, Drew? Mine is playing a
We've already
Hyrulean.
talked about the Hyrule game.
Yeah, the Hyrulean elf.
Because I have been playing Tears of the Kingdom also.
Yes.
I did finally. So the primary reason I went ahead and went up to the Wind Temple, because I needed to finish one of them, because I kept trying to figure out why some quest would not unlock in the main town. And finally, I had broke down and got my iPad, got on my iPad and looked it up. How do you get this quest to go? Because obviously, I'm supposed to go somewhere in the depths, but it won't give me this quest to go do it. And I found out, oh, you've got to actually beat a temple first before that quest will pop. Okay, fine. I'll go up there. I was trying to hold that stuff off till last, but fine. So I went up. I'm enjoying that game because it's very easy. It's very fun just to explore in that game, because you never know what you're going to find. I took out a construct the other day with which I don't know if you've run across this, but they're the block robot things up in the sky. And I had to steal this crystal that he had on his back. I could have stole the crystal and escaped, but I didn't feel that was right. I felt I still had to take him out. And that took about 7 tries.
Yeah, they're rough.
And then I did not save.
No.
Oh, geez.
Immediately after that. And I tried to figure out how to get said crystal where I had to take it so the shrine would unlock. Because this crystal was in the shape of one of the shrines.
Mm.
And I fell out of the sky and realized my mistake as soon as I respawned up in the battlefield, and I started getting attacked by this thing again.
Oh
gosh.
It's like, oh my word.
Have you gotten the gliding armor yet?
Yes, I have all 3 pieces.
No, I just have the shirt right now, and that helps so much.
The shirt helps more than the other 2 pieces, but I wanted to go ahead and get all the stat bonus.
Right.
So I did go through like I did find all 3 of those.
Right.
Which, let me tell you, the the tower at Hateno Village, which is where one of those challenges is.
Mm-hmm.
You better make sure you've got, since you're going to the Wind Temple already, go ahead and make sure you get the armor there so that help you with the chill, because you'll need it over there, because I didn't have that. I was scarfing down those 5 chili dishes so I would actually survive the cold, trying to get to the top of that stupid mountain so I could launch in the sky. So yeah. Also, I have been watching well, this last Tuesday I was on another podcast for Retro Rewind, and we reviewed The Mask of Zorro. So of course I watched that Sunday. I was kind of a last minute deal. I just barely saw that he was requesting as soon as church let out. I said, well, I can make that happen. So I watched that movie, enjoyed it. I've listened to that episode of Retro to get my full thoughts. But it is a classic in my opinion.
Agreed.
So also, as I was finishing editing this episode, this previous episode of Cellcast, I threw in, well, I don't know if this is in your news, Jacob, so if I'm stealing your thunder, I apologize.
Go for it.
But earlier this week, Star Trek.com released images of Mariner and Boimler in their live action, with their live action actors who are going to be in the Strange New Worlds crossover sometime in season 2. And that actually finally got me to, oh yeah, I actually need to finish season 1 because I kind of got distracted and only watched half the season, and it's been so long since I watched season 1. I need to start over. So I watched the first episode of Strange New Worlds, which, if you've not, I have to say this, because if you've not watched Discovery season 2, Strange New Worlds assumes you kind of know what's going on there, because there's some of that stuff they just talk about and don't explain. Right. Because Pike from Strange New Worlds and number one, and Spock, the actors they hired for that, they actually hired for season 2 of Discovery, and honestly, that was the best casting decision they made for Discovery, if we're being honest. So you kind of have to know what at least happened during that season, understand why Pike is acting the way he is. But one of the cool things I noted there is the first time I saw this, this was something I didn't catch because I had never seen the film The Day the Earth Stood Still. But since I saw this episode the first time, I have seen the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still.
The original?
The original.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I have not seen the remake because I figured that was garbage back when I worked at Walmart, and the only way we got any copies of the new one were 2 packs with the original film. I figured, this movie's so bad, the only way they could sell it is to sell the original film, and this is a bonus feature.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of jealous. I'm kind of upset I didn't snag that copy. I have a goal in life to collect certain classic movies and their adaptations, and that's on the list. The Time Machine, War of the Worlds. I want to get the classics and the remakes of it. It's not great the remake of it. Actually, the director, what I remember, was a Christian, and he purposely put in some Christian iconography and themes within the film on purpose. It's a bit on the nose in a few places, but it's pretty solid. But it's also completely different from the original movie.
I had the suspicion. I remember when the commercials were out, I just thought this does not look. I have not seen the original, and this does not look accurate, or like it's even being respectful of the original that much. So, but I didn't get around to seeing the original until October this last year. And now that I've seen it, that scene in Strange New Worlds makes perfect sense. How he's able to pull from what is that character's name in Day of the Earth Stood Still, the alien, not the robot, not his robot, but the actual dude. Anyway, he pulls from that speech to actually get out of the situation that episode's in. So yeah, I'm enjoying going back through Strange New Worlds to get caught up for season 2, which is in like a month. So
kind of speaking on that, because Drew sent me a picture, because obviously we've done Lower Decks, 3 seasons of Lower Decks for TAS, and so he sent me that picture.
I figure you'd be interested.
Yeah, of Boimler and Mariner, and my response was, I wonder how much crap will Mariner get away with in this episode.
I ain't gonna let her get away with nothing.
That was my thought, because the entire time of like all 3 seasons, I'll be like, wow, who is going to ground this young lady?
Well, it ain't gonna.
This is like,
That being said, I actually suggest going and even if you've not seen Strange New Worlds, go and watch the trailer for at least the last second when Spock does the "Live Long and Prosper" to Boimler, and Boimler kind of just starts geeking out. Like, well, have you ever seen that episode of A Big Bang Theory when Penny? It's the Christmas episode, and Penny gets that signature from Leonard Nimoy to give to Sheldon as a Christmas present, and he kind of goes nuts. Similar, but there's only like 2 seconds of it, so I mean it's not too crazy, but it was kind of that feeling. So go check out that trailer if you get a chance. That's what I've been watching. Jacob, what do we have in the news?
The Cellcast News with your host Jacob Heron.
Well, Bumblebee, Transformers, transform and roll out.
Do what?
I thought it was an interesting segue between that. Anyways, so enter in the news. Obviously, Transformers fans are excited about Transformers 1 coming out.
Maybe they are.
Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. Be like, if you know the Transformers fandom, be like, they are just like, eek! Anything Transformers that is not the Bayverse.
Exactly.
I am excited about the Beast Machines movie.
I'm going to see it.
Yeah, I still want to watch that.
Yeah.
I still haven't watched Bumblebee yet. I hear it's a really good film.
I mean, I sat through the last night in theaters, and it was the second second most fun I've ever seen Anthony Hopkins have on screen. Because Anthony Hopkins was just chewing the scenery up in that film.
That's what I keep hearing. All right, so Transformer Die Hard fans will be waiting a little bit longer, more like 2 months, to check out Paramount's 2024 animated feature based on the durable franchise that has endured since the early 80s. The film Transformers 1 has been pushed back from its release date, which will go. It went from July 18th, 2024 to September 13th of 2024. So yeah, if you're looking for your Transformers fix with the new animated film coming out, you have to wait another month or so. So roll out.
Okay,
that's all I've got.
Well, I kind of already said the other thing that was news this week. So
yes, we did.
That's very fair.
Yeah, fair.
So
unless anybody else has anything else,
not that I know of. So how about we have a little interrogation?
Yes.
Interrogation.
All right, so for our normal listening audience and those who listen or watch our stream or watch on YouTube, whatever, whenever we have a fine guest that joins us, we like to interrogate them about their animation history, what they like, what they dislike. So Dallas, how long have you done Geek Devotions?
Geek Devotions, we're in our 7th year right now.
7th year. That is awesome. Congratulations. So I know that you guys do a lot of anime and animated movies and what have you. So what is your favorite through your ministry, through your podcast, through your the Geek Devotions world? What is the favorite animated movie or television series you've enjoyed so far, or at least have discovered through this?
Oh my gosh, dude. That's a hard one. Because we've done so much over the last 7 years. I'm trying to cheat and pull up our YouTube channel to look at it, because I just don't know. We watched so many stuff over the years, and again, we try very hard to vary what we do, because we're trying to hit such a wide span of different geek. And that again, that's legitimately the biggest challenge of Geek Devotions, is we're trying to hit different stuff, because there's some people that are really into anime and some people that are really into Star Trek and some people who aren't. And so we're trying to hit various things. I'm always a fan of when we do Gundam stuff. Always a fan when we do Gundam stuff.
I wouldn't know a thing about that.
No,
not a dadgum thing.
No. Yeah, big burning Gundam back here.
There's one in a box over here I need to build.
Wait.
So,
I see that. And then the one in the box is over there.
Oh, okay.
That's
Iron-Blooded Orphans character.
No, it's not.
Which one is that?
That's from Witch from Mercury.
Oh, well, never mind. Well, I feel sheepish.
I need to finish that series. I haven't.
Anyways, continue.
But I honestly, if it was for Geek Devotions, I would have sat down and watched the Star Wars Clone Wars and discovered just how good it was.
Oh, okay.
I sat down and started watching Clone Wars. I think I lost the guys again, but started watching Clone Wars, and you're back.
We never left.
Yeah, we're still here.
Oh,
can you see us?
Okay, you guys froze on me.
Okay.
The image has been freezing off and on the whole time. So
I got you. We started watching Clone Wars, and Celeste and I loved it. Like, we watched the entire series all the way through, mostly on lunch breaks in our car.
That's awesome. So, but like we had Francisco from
Retro Rewind.
Retro. I almost said it. Retro Rewind podcast.
You almost fudded there.
I almost fudded it. So Roy gave that Shining movie a 3.5.
Yes,
a 3.5, and he was like, "Yes, that was hilarious." So, and I think he mentioned something about like putting it on the lower shelf or something like that. The bottom shelf. The bottom shelf.
I think he's it may have been Dumpster Fire.
Dumpster Fire or something like that.
I say I'm not going to call it Dumpster Fire because there's only 2 films we've reviewed on this.
Oh my gosh!
Dumpster Fire.
Yes,
if it was on that show.
That was Dumpster Fire.
We don't talk about
Leo. No.
Anyway.
Whoa. So, what was your favorite cartoon growing up?
Oh man, growing up, it kind of just depends on the era that we're talking about.
So, more when you were somewhere between the ages of 4 and like 8, 9 years old.
Probably in that time frame, cartoon wise,
Yes.
it was probably the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, of course.
Fair.
I mean, that's just they were everywhere. They were the big thing, and I saw the movie in theater, the live action movie in theater.
Yes.
And the cartoon was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that would probably be my answer between in that time frame.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. I was very similar because my brother loved Turtles. I was a Thundercats fan through and through.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'll be like, what was yours? I can't remember when you were like young.
Oh, Darkwing Duck, probably.
Of course,
Animated wise.
Animation wise, Darkwing Duck was
Yeah,
amazing.
because I wasn't allowed to watch Turtles.
Yeah, oddly enough, I'll be like, I watched Turtles. Be like when Power Rangers came out. Initially, we weren't allowed to watch it.
Yeah,
we were watching Turtles and all these violent R films. We couldn't watch Ninja Turtle for Power Rangers for some reason. Eventually, my mother relented and we watched it. But
I'm betting it's the same reason I wasn't allowed. The real reason I wasn't allowed to watch Ninja Turtles, and that's because it was stupid.
Yeah, probably.
Or that's what the parental units believe.
The parental units. Oh my gosh. So, what is one of the favorite, besides the Clone Wars, that you and your lovely bride love to watch together? If that's animation, an animated movie, or a TV series, that's not the Clone Wars.
Oh my gosh, what do we like watching? So, there's several things we watch, and we kind of get on this habit where we binge stuff. For a long while, we were trying to watch the entirety of Bleach, which is
that's a long watch.
It's a long watch. It's a great anime series. I love it.
I gave up going into season 4.
You got pushed through, man, because
you understand why season 4 broke me.
Well, you got to push through, man. But the new stuff that they have coming out, we really made a big push to try to finish it before the new stuff started coming out. Okay. Where they were actually wrapping up the show or the stories, and it's so good. And so we watched that all the way through. We're trying to watch a couple of new anime series right now. One is called is it Mushi or something like that. It's about this. Basically, it's about this kid who is. It's in the world where everyone has magical powers, kind of Harry Potter like.
Oh,
and
I know what
this kid is
about.
Yeah, and this kid is the only one who doesn't have magic.
Oh.
And in this world, you're not allowed to not have magic. You get eliminated.
He's a lone
and
muggle.
So, yeah. So basically, what happened was this old man raised him and to shield him off in the woods and had him training like lifting weights and exercising. And so he's like super, super strong. And so, but to protect his family, he has to enter into the school of magic and pretend to know magic like everyone else. And he has to get some sort of blessing at the end of the program. So he's pretending to have magic by just using sheer force. And he gets into this fight with this red wizard, and he's like tricep magic. You're like tricep magic, and he just punches the guy in the face. At one point, they're playing the whatever that game is they have in Harry Potter, where they're flying around trying to catch a ball.
Quidditch.
Yeah, and so he's like he's got to win, so he just jumps in the air and he kicks his legs so fast he just floats. He just throw the ball back and forth.
Oddly enough,
Mashal.
Huh?
That's it.
Mashal. That's the name of it.
Mashal. Okay.
It's a combination of the words magic and muscle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's hysterical.
What that kind of reminds me of My Hero Academia in some capacity.
That's another one we're trying to watch all the way through.
I haven't watched past season 3 of that one either.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, the last season we finished up the last season of My Hero Academia.
We've just gotten busy since we did reviewed that movie with Aaron.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this: the there's that meme of the comedian go emotional damage. That is the ending of this last season. Just emotional damage.
Wow.
Yeah, the last episode of My Hero I've watched was one of the ones where they were at the summer camp, and I for whatever reason just have not got back to it yet.
The last like 5 episodes of this last season, like I teared up in every single episode.
Oh wow. So
it was so good.
So interesting question. So if you were to happen perchance recommend our beloved sweet Captain Roy a Disney film, what would it be?
Oh my gosh.
And he had to watch it.
A Disney movie.
Remember, you can't use Moana because he has seen that and actually likes that film.
That is true.
Right. Man, that's a great question because I'm not a huge Disney person. I'm looking at the list of Disney movies that are out there.
Honestly, I'm not sure what it would be because so many of them do kind of hit his negative points.
They all hit all of his negative points.
I can't. That's the thing. As much as we mess with him for being a Disney hater, I can't really. Knowing how his taste in films, I understand why he doesn't like those films.
Yeah, I mean, like one of my favorite ones is the Aristocats because I love the music.
Yeah,
one good song you like.
The Lady and the Tramp because I like dogs. Fun fact: when I was a kid, I had several surgeries. I had like 10 surgeries by the time I was 3 years old on my feet, and so I was always in pain. I had a cast on. The only thing that would shut me up and kind of block things out was watching Lady and the Tramp. So mom had that VHS on repeat constantly.
That's fair. I had that's one of the bootlegged VHSs I wore out.
Yeah. So one of those two, I'm sure.
Okay. So if you had a recommendation, someone ask you a recommendation for a very obscure animated movie, what would you recommend?
Very obscure animated movie. Man.
Anime or Western?
Anime or Western? Man, that is so hard because there's so many great things that are out there. Maybe. All right, there's a weird one. This is really, really weird. And there's some stuff in it's probably not appropriate for a lot of folks. But it was a movie called Wizards.
That one's come up recently that we need to watch that one.
Yeah.
1977. I pulled up the description of it real quick. And,
it's a Bakshi film.
Yeah. The art's interesting. It has an interesting message behind it. It's one of those ones that I watched, probably shouldn't have as a child, and probably should have watched it as many times as I did.
Yeah.
But it's one of those ones that's just always been in the back of my head because I've watched it so much as a kid, and there are certain things that come out of it that I repeat. So yeah, I say Wizards.
Okay. So what was the first, obviously you guys watch anime a lot and you have reviews like that, and you do devotions over anime. And what was the first anime you watched? If it's a movie or a series, what was the first one?
Oh, the first one I ever watched was Voltron.
Voltron.
I mean,
nice.
It was. That was, as a child, that was the first anime I ever watched. I would say that most kids from the 80s, that was the first one they watched. Years later, I went back and watched the original unchopped up, un-Americanized version called Go Lion.
Okay.
So much deeper, so much more. Right. Woo, that's a wild story. But Voltron was probably my very first anime I ever watched.
Okay. I remember mine. I might have watched something when I was younger, but I remember being at my grandparents' place in Louisiana. I think they were outside of Logansport. And I remember one Saturday we were over there and just we're sitting in the entertainment room and turn Cartoon Network on, and this weird anime comes on.
I can't believe you watched this first.
Kira.
Yes.
I'm like, what?
How old were you?
I was probably like 7 years old.
I want to know
That
what.
probably is
I want to know why this movie was on primetime Cartoon Network.
I have no
most
idea.
of your psychological damage was probably caused by that movie. So
It was more from like the artistic standpoint. I was like, what in the world is going on? And it inspired me so much. Like Thundercats did, or He-Man, or Transformers, or Turtles, or whatever. I was like, oh my gosh, look at all that color. Look at like the movement, the animation. It's wow. And we finally we reviewed it for our podcast, and they're going to, you guys have
with Francisco and Paul.
Yeah.
They guested on that episode.
That's right, they did. So that was an interesting one, because I remember it very distinctly, and then it's just more like you get into this, you get into this, you get into this, and because it's more like the animation style, what they do with the animation, how they use it, and that's what.
Bro, that's a hard introduction.
It was a very shocking. I was like, I think I remember it's like the one of the blue kids. He's on screen. He's like, what the world's going on? And like towards the end, it'd be like. Akira, is it Akira the main character?
No, Akira is the one that's causing all the issues. He's not actually he's a character in the movie, but he's always in the background.
Yeah,
you're looking at Tetsuo and Kaneda.
Yeah, Tetsuo or whatever. They like he's
or as I still pronounce it every time I see it, Canada.
I mean, like he's morphing into that enormous blob.
Yeah, that was Kaneda.
Yeah, Kaneda, and I always forget names. I'm terrible with names. I apologize. But Kaneda is morphing into that big, enormous blob, and it's absorbing everything. I'm like, oh dear Lord, what is this? But I was like, my little brothers was like, this is stupid. I'm like, this is fascinating.
Fascinating is a word for it. For
very
sure.
fascinating.
I have a really mean question to ask.
Okay.
Was the brother that said this is stupid, Jim?
I think Daniel was like, okay, this is interesting.
Fair.
I think it was Jim who thought it was stupid.
I could see
this. I could be wrong. I could probably like years later.
And I'm sure years later his opinion could actually be different now.
Yeah, you never know.
Anyway,
but
it's just the first one that's going to state his opinion.
That is true. It's Jim, of course. But that was the first one I got introduced to, and I've loved anime since then. Now, granted, I'm not the I'm the otaku who has to watch everything. I just be like, oh, this sounds like fun. Oh, this is fun. I like the animation style.
I don't think any of the three of us are the otaku who has to watch everything.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. I think I like to describe myself as a healthy otaku. Yeah. I love anime. I watch a lot of it, but I have a lot of other interests that are around. Yeah. Again, some of it's because of what we do here at Geek Devotions. Right. But there's so much. Do you know who's becoming a huge weeb right now? Though?
John, how are you?
Man, John has gone headfirst into the world, and I'm not sure if he loves me for it or if he hates me for it, but he's in it.
He's got interesting taste, though. I'll give him that. Which ones? The ones he's talked about, and I'm going, these are not the ones I would watch.
Oh my gosh!
Except for Witch from Mercury, I think we both agreed that was a good anime.
But that's what I love about anime is there's so many different genres and so many different things that can capture so many different people's mindsets and styles. That it's a great medium.
Yeah, agreed. And like definitely for artistically, like me, it inspired me because like I was huge influenced by the comic artist Joe Madureira. Like he did the Marvel Uncanny X-Men back in the 90s, and his own stuff with Battle Chasers, which is they're coming out with the 10th one finally. Thank you. So that was a huge inspiration for me, especially watching anime growing up with Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, like other ones, Sailor Moon to an extent.
Just go ahead and announce all three of the ones that would have been on my list as the first, because I'm not sure the actual order Toonami was releasing them in at the time.
Neon Genesis Evangelion.
I know that one. I was getting at was the fact that I don't know actually which was my first, because I only saw Toonami the one time at the time, and I have no idea the order the actual anime came out, so I don't know which one I technically watched first. But it was either Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, or Gundam Wing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the only episode of Gundam Wing I actually saw.
Right.
And I'm assuming it was Wing because it was the only Gundam thing. It was the first Gundam thing I think was released over here, wasn't it?
It was the first mass-produced one. Yeah, it was.
So I'm sure it was showing on there, and that's just the one I happened to catch. I remember
it certainly wasn't Doozy Bots.
Yeah, thankfully it was not doozy bots. Good night.
Which I just heard from how that happened, how doozy bots even happened. Like it was pitched out, and then they sent out the VHSs to people, and nobody wanted it, and there was a con.
Of course nobody wanted it. That thing looked like garbage.
I know, but there was like one single con that was out there, and a guy was like, "Oh, well, this is stupid." So he took the VHS with them to show his friends, and they made copies of copies of copies, and that's how we have it today. Like it was
the only reason we have that thing.
It wasn't supposed to be released to the public at all.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
But yeah, I know one of your first ones was Evangelion, which
that's
going to be a trip later this year.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Wait. Hold on. Your first animes were Evangelion and Akira?
Yeah.
Close.
How many hours of counseling have you been through in your life? Are you okay? Do you need a hug? I mean,
hey, sometimes yes.
Stitch is there for you, buddy. I mean, he's there to love on you. Good God, man. I'm sorry.
Well, it was like Evangelion was there, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is like as a kid, we just like, oh my gosh, what the world's going on?
You were watching it for the giant robots as a kid. I would be willing.
No, I wasn't.
You couldn't have been for the psychological torment that Anna was putting them kids through.
I don't know why I was drawn to it. There was a part of me that said like, ooh, this, and there's a part of me that's like, oh my gosh, this is a really good story. To me,
it's a train wreck.
Huh?
It's a train wreck. You can't help but
exactly. You cannot help but watch this.
So
you're like,
stay in the presence of the guy who's tried to start it 4 times. It has only gotten halfway through it, and the only way I'm now going to watch it is because this man is going to force me to watch it after we finish X-Men.
Yes,
that's fair.
So there is still a debate on scheduling when we're actually doing Pride of the X-Men. So,
oh wow,
because we need to throw that in there somewhere near the end of X-Men. So.
Yes, agreed. So to wrap up this interrogation, oh my gosh, the island scenario. If you were stuck in an island and you only had like one series to watch, animation wise, what would you watch?
One series to watch. Probably One Piece, because there's so much I won't get bored.
Yeah, you never have to worry about it finishing because it's never finishing.
Yeah.
The thing has been going on for 20 years nonstop.
That is insane.
I'm only like in season 2. I'm like, I don't know how they're still going, but okay.
I don't know either, but they are, and they're just now saying, oh yeah, we're finally finishing the story. It's like, if this ends up being a super long joke, that the One Piece treasure they're looking
the guy
for
writing the manga is like, I give up.
What? A One Piece woman's bathing suit.
Okay,
fair. This is the kind of jokes that I expect out of this.
Okay.
Because it's like what Akira Toriyama would have done. And that's
true.
I don't know. I don't care about One Piece because I tried to watch it. I could not get into it.
What, you didn't get into the G Kids version?
You mean the 4Kids version?
4Kids version.
Rap?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I was smart about this. I waited till Funimation had put out the uncut version of it, even though there was still some weird animation glitches from 4Kids Run in the Funimation one. But anyway.
4Kids ruining childhood one anime at a time.
the one that I've seen and Drew watched and it's like, oh my gosh, we gotta use this for the intro for Evangelion.
Oh,
it's the one that someone created for the
joke 4Kids rap.
For
Evangelion.
Oh gosh,
I've seen that.
I was like, oh my god.
Oh, I have found like 3 or 4 different versions of the opening. And I'm just like, I'm just gonna edit these together where you can't tell where one starts and the other ends.
That's fair. It's fair.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the end of interrogation. Thank you, Dallas.
All right. Now it's time for us to jump into our topic on X-Men, the animated series.
Previously on X-Men.
Meet the sulky, over bulky, kinda hulky superhero. A two-fisted and electrically transistored superhero. An exotically erotic and aquatic superhero. The Marvel superheroes have arrived.
You haven't heard this 30 times.
and his amazing friends, Iceman and Firestar.
I just realized that lyric sheet I sang last week is completely wrong. Not that was the theme song to the first episode we're watching tonight. Right. Or we watched for this episode review.
Right.
First episode we are talking about is No Mutant is an Island, which first aired on September 21st, 1996.
Yes.
Which, if you've been keeping up with the dates, you'll notice 2 years after where the last episode
and you
aired.
can tell the animation dropped.
Because, I'll get to that in a second. It was directed by Larry Houston and Fred Miller and written by Dean Stephan. In this episode, a disillusioned Cyclops leaves the X-Men and returns to the orphanage where he grew up, only to find it under the control of a mind-controlling mutant. Yeah, I have questions about that later. Cedric Smith, who also voices Xavier, was also the voicing Purple Man, a.k.a. Zebediah Killgrave.
Mm-hmm.
Tara Strong voiced Skids and Sally Blevins.
Really?
Yeah. Must have been one of her earlier roles.
Must have.
And Rusty, Taka, and Boom Boom were played by unknown actors.
Oh.
We have no idea who they are.
Huh. Unsung heroes.
Trivia for this. Originally, this was supposed to air originally aired during season 5, but this episode actually occurs right after the Phoenix Saga adaptation during season 3.
Makes sense.
This service held for Jean at the beginning places it right after Phoenix Saga Part 5 Child of Light in 1994, when Phoenix Jean Grey hides the Macran crystal in the sun. Cerebro, detecting Jean Grey toward the end, places it before X-Men the Animated Series Savage Land Strange Heart. 1984, when Wolverine and Logan indicates Jean being examined on Muir Island. X-Men the Animated Series Longshot 96, X-Men the Animated Series Obsession 94, and X-Men the Animated Series Cold Comfort 95 also take place during this same time period. Due to the absence of Cyclops in Longshot, that episode may take place concurrently with the events of this one. Disney Plus listed this episode as season 3, episode 8, which is why we're reviewing it now. This is the first appearance of Zebediah Killgrave. While not referred to as such in dialogue, Killgrave is known in the comics as the Purple Man. This is also the first and only appearances of Rusty Collins, Fire Fist, Sally Blevins, Skids, Tabitha Smith, Boom Boom, and Taki Matsuya, Whiz Kid. I didn't even know those characters had names outside of what we heard. In the comics, they were all members of X Factor trainee team, the Exterminators, along with Julio Richter, Leech, and Artie Maddox. And that's all the trivia I got for this. So, Dallas, what's your thoughts on this? Because I'm actually curious from when we were talking before the show.
Yeah. So, why was the animation so bad?
That's because it's season 5.
in literally one scene, every time they cut away from Xavier and they came back to him, he looked like a different man.
Yeah, he did.
And then people, like the proportions on people, like at one point, Jean's head is massive and then it's not. Like their perspective was just everywhere. Like I love X-Men. I love the original series, like that we're talking about. Like I have very fond memories. As a child, I just don't think I realized how bad this animation was at this point. But oh goodness gracious, like the animation just drove me nuts the entire way. It was choppy. It was, and I was trying to give grace because again, we're watching what 1997 animation.
Yeah.
And we're watching it on 2020, 2021 TVs being streamed at a high bit rate on through Disney Plus, or maybe you have the DVD.
And I will also say this is we're looking at progressive scan. This is an interlace image on a progressive TV. We're lucky it looks as good as it does.
True.
Exactly. I have grace, but good golly, Miss Molly, this was wrong. And so I'm like, it's like the animators was like, what are we doing again? Oh, okay. And they just slapped it together, and it was sad. And then there's a reason why the series stopped. And I hope and I pray that the continuation of X-Men, they pick up the animation style from the first season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, maybe second season. First season had a lot to be desired in a couple shots.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, but I mean, at least Professor Xavier didn't look like the freaking Watcher half the time.
It's like, yeah, I don't know your pain at all.
I was like, I know he has telekinetic powers, but his head doesn't look that way, guys.
It's supposed to look more like Picard, not like. No, I'm not
like they put an air pump in his ear. When here we go, Professor.
Oh my gosh,
Jiminy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, like just going on what you said, Dallas. The animation is horrendous because I'm watching this. You go from the end of the Phoenix Saga, oh my gosh, amazing animation, to this. Like, what in the world is going on? Because I'm thinking, like, okay, did they just? Because at first thought I was like, because you hear the new theme, and I was like, oh, okay,
it's like that's a weird rendition of this theme.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would we do this? And why do? And I actually thought maybe they switched it here, and I forgot that they did. And I was watching this episode because I'm thinking I didn't realize when I plugged the episode in this afternoon that this was actually a season 5 episode because I hadn't done the research yet. I thought, okay, kind of makes sense. Phoenix Saga's just finished. Jean Grey is out. It would make sense at this point in time that maybe Saban went in and redid the opening since maybe he felt like he had to take Jean out. But I'm still watching it going, no, there's a lot wrong with this because there's a lot of, for one thing, I think there's a lot of shots in this new opening that have not occurred yet in the actual show.
Fair.
So, and it took, I was about 3/4 of the way through the episode, like after I realized, oh, that's Purple Man. I just remember thinking halfway through this episode, it's like, gee, I wonder if Kilgrave with a name like that is the bad guy. Gotta love this era of comics where they have the audacity to go, yeah, this guy's name is Kilgrave. We're gonna pretend he's not a bad guy. It's almost as bad as Obadiah Stane.
Yeah.
In terms of naming.
He's not a bad guy. He's a he's a bald man with feelings.
He's Thanos' rejected brother is what he is. And literally, I was watching this. Granted, the only other version of Kilgrave I've ever seen is in Jessica Jones. So it's David Tennant. I've never read the comics with this character.
I didn't realize I'd seen Kilgrave before until I was watching the sale. Like, oh yeah, I remember this character. I didn't realize he was a big deal. And so
I didn't recognize the name for whatever reason, which is just weird considering Kilgrave and Jessica Jones. But I'm watching this going, and it's his face. So he's doing the mind control thing down there in the basement of the place. Going, of course he's doing it. He's the bad guy, obviously, with a name like Kilgrave. And and I see the color, his skin changing color. Go, gee, the animation really is bad in this episode. They're not even keeping the color consistent. And a couple minutes later, it's like, oh, he's the Purple Man. He's turning purple. I get it now.
So speaking of color in this entire episode, because you watch Beast throughout the entire episode, his color tone shifts every other scene. I'm like, he's a dark purple, he's a light purple. Thanks.
Blue.
He was blue. He's a dark blue. Then he's a lighter blue. Then he goes back to a darker blue. I think at one point he's actually purple. Or his
surprised me.
The dark line work is way really, really, really thick. I'm like, he's fur, people. He's not muscular. Like, yeah, he's a muscular furry guy. He's not all muscle. He's fur.
I need to look into the actual production of the series because I am curious if the first 4 seasons, they edited this on film, like with actual cell animation. And then this 5th season, when they went cheaper, if they went to like some early paint box digital.
I think it was actually.
And
if I remember correctly, the part of the problem with these latter seasons was, and I just saw a video about this a few months ago, so my memory is kind of fuzzy. But they were running out of. They were trying to pump stuff out as quickly as possible, and they ended up going with 2 different production houses. And so one production house wasn't talking to the other one, which is why episodes were out of order, but also why the art was so drastically different, and they're just pumping it out. Because again, Saban, that cat, he's just trying to make money. I mean, he's like, hey, what's Japan have? Let's make it happen. You know, that's why we have Beetleborgs and stuff like that.
Well, for the other part that I do understand about the production of this is that this episode was originally scheduled to come out in the middle of season 3, and it was written during that time period. But due to some animation issues, I'm guessing with whatever effect they were using for the Purple Man to show the mind control, they just couldn't get it out in time, and that script kept getting pushed to the side because
crazy.
Later on, from my understanding, when Jean is shown alive, that actually ends up being a plot hole if you're watching this in the release order, because you have no way of knowing why Jean's alive. And I'm still looking at it going, yeah, but you really only barely explained it here.
That's true.
So
it's so vague.
Weird is so stinking weird.
Yeah, because I mean, like I go back to the beginning of season 3, where they're putting episodes from season 5 in the front, and you think
those aren't from season 5. I double checked that.
Really?
Those first 2 episodes, they did come out at this time. That's why that second one, that's like right before the Phoenix Saga starts. They put the ad as like coming soon this season, the Phoenix Saga,
agreed.
And then put the stupidest, ugliest fire graphic at the bottom of the screen.
It's so bad.
It's like, oh my word, this is horrible.
Yeah,
this is worse than the Just Married flag at the back of Serpentera and start in
oh gosh,
2 of Power Rangers.
But yeah, the story itself was okay. Like it was Scott. He was upset, obviously, because he lost the love of his life.
Right, it makes sense.
It makes sense that he runs off and he goes back to his orphanage, which was like he had a bad experience at the orphanage, and so he decided he wanted to go back and try to help people, which is understandable.
He went to the only home he knew.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. But it's like, yeah, understand. But like, you know, Purple Man comes in and be like, oh, I'm going to use these kids' powers to rule the world. or take over a state. What?
Now, I've got a really dumb question. I hope somebody here actually knows the answer.
42.
No. I don't think Kilgrave in the comics and in any other continuity is a mutant. Am I right about that? Because I tried to do some research on this. Because otherwise, from a rights point of view, they could not have used the Purple Man and Jessica Jones at the time, because that would have been still owned. If it was a mutant, that would still be under the Fox brand.
He was
my understanding, because everything connected with the mutants was moved over there. That's why they had to do that special deal to get Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in the MCU early on.
He was exposed to, this is according to Marvel fandom, he was exposed to various unnamed chemicals, changing his skin into a purple hue. He was altered by an accident, ended up giving him the new ability to control people's minds. So
that's
he's
not a mutant.
So he's not
by Marvel definition.
Yeah,
that's like how Spider-Man got his powers in a similar method. So yeah, more like Flash, but I was thinking Marvel. So yeah, it's like made him a mutant here, which is just weird.
At this point, I feel like some of the writers, they weren't necessarily familiar with the material. They're just doing stuff, and just because it worked for their purposes, they needed a character who could control minds to push the narrative. Yeah. And so they chose him. And
this is the first one chronologically to be a major character that wasn't X-Men related. We at least have had cameos from other superheroes throughout the house. I did like that in that one scene where he is coming in and answering the phone, you can see on the dartboard on the back wall the yellow and red Daredevil.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Like, that's a nice little callback.
That was There are a lot of things in this episode that like didn't make sense though. Like at what point did Scott Summers' laser beams become fire extinguishers? Like,
I'm curious about that too.
He walked in and like, again, this are laser beams that melt stuff and blow stuff up. He's like, let me put out this fire with his laser beams.
Plot convenience.
I mean, basically.
I mean, it's like, I know you can fight fire with fire, but that's generally to put a fire break in. You burn stuff ahead of the fire, so the fire can't get past it.
Yeah.
In the last year, I've just discovered what Scott's actual mutant power is.
Right. And this would have been before they announced that in the comics.
Yeah. But basically, his eyes are little mini portals to a dimension full of energy.
Yeah. And his brother has the same thing, but on his hands.
Yeah.
Havoc.
And they can't hurt each other, as far as I understand.
I guess.
Yeah.
All I know is I kept thinking when they were showing the other kid at the orphanage with the fire hands, I thought, are they introducing Havoc here?
No, not yet.
It's like, nope, that's not. I don't think they actually introduce Havoc in this series.
I think they have.
If they do, it's much later chronologically.
Or
I don't think I found out about Havoc until X-Men Evolution.
The one that got me throughout the entire Phoenix saga, you have Corsair who's bemoaning his wife and the loss of his children.
It's like, will you just talk to your son?
Or the one where it's like Scott and Corsair are walking through. It's just like, yeah, you remind me of his son. Be like, he had these color eyes. I'm like, why don't you two talk to each other?
I know I've said this the last 2 weeks. I'm going to say it again. He should have been voiced by Jonathan Frakes. Of course, there should have been voiced by Jonathan Frakes. I swear, because he reminds me of Riker. And let's face it, we all know Riker can voice act.
Right.
Right.
He did play a villain in Gargoyles, and he's like having the most fun out of all the everyone in that show.
So I have a question. Why is it that they make the fire characters angry Irish-looking people?
Because fire is red, so the fiery characters need to be redheads.
It's like why are they doing this with the gingers? I mean, Jean Grey, redhead, she's on fire. You have that one random Irish dude from that runs around with the guy that looks like Rhino, and he's all about fire.
Yeah,
Pyro, yeah. And then this kid, it's like, what are you guys trying to say about gingers?
Blame the artist who drew the character that they based this on.
Like what? He couldn't be a brunette? No, he's got to have a red hair and Irish for some reason.
I mean, I got some fiery blondes.
Give them anime blue hair, and then you could claim their flames are hotter because it's a blue flame. You could do that. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm sorry. There's only one other character I know that's fire related that's a different color, and it's Snowflame, and he's powered by cocaine. So he was like showed up in one comic, and I don't even remember if it's DC or Marvel. It sounds like Marvel. Sounds like 60s era Marvel, but it's not.
It's not. Oh my god!
I only know of it from watching Atop the Fourth Wall because that was one of the bad comics he reviewed.
Oh my word! I would say just overall, this episode was so funky. It was like, okay, weird episode, but like plot wise, and you can't get past the animation. It's like, what in the world?
Really
it's like, huh? It's like, can we wipe this away? You actually get the story? No, it's too ugly. Keep wiping.
Oh, I am not looking forward to when we actually get to season 5. Thankfully, that's only 10 episodes.
Oh, good. Only 10 episodes.
Snowflame is DC.
Oh, okay.
I just double checked that.
Okay.
That checks.
That actually does match.
Yeah. Can we get into an episode that's actually better?
That's debatable. Obsession, which originally aired September 24th, 1994. Once again, if you've been following the original air dates, we have not actually gotten back to where that is, because a lot of these episodes at this point were airing out of order, apparently, also, along with the episodes that were supposed to come out being pushed back 2 years. This one was directed by Larry Houston and written by Adam Gilad. In this episode, Archangel has become obsessed with destroying Apocalypse, who he blames for ruining his life. I mean, can you blame him?
Yeah, true.
In this episode, we've got John Colicos voicing Apocalypse and Stephen Wamette voicing Archangel. And about the only trivia I was able to find for this is that it does not feature Magneto.
I am Magneto, master of magnet.
Fair.
I still have to find an excuse to play that clip
Yes,
in every episode now. It's going to get really weird. We get to Evangelion and it's like, can I still play Magneto?
No.
Is there not a magnet Ava?
No, there's not a magnet Ava.
Well, shoot. So, yeah, Dallas, what's your thoughts on this particular episode?
So my thoughts on this one, it felt very fast paced. Like, I feel like they tried to cram a lot of stuff in, especially with the relationship between Hank and the ship.
Oh,
It
that was
just,
so weird.
it was weird,
bizarre.
and it was just so fast paced. I can see that happening between Hank and an AI.
Yeah.
Over several episodes, several issues of the comic, but it was such a weirdly paced story. It felt like they just wanted to cram in this whole thing about Warren, which in of itself, Warren, Archangel I'm conflicted by him because I genuinely like his character in the comics, but it bothers me that this version of X-Men as a whole, this was never a Warren who was part of the X-Men.
Yeah.
At all. And I'm like, there's so much here that they could do with. Like, if Warren had been part of the X-Men, the Cyclops and Beast being there would have had so much more gravity to it. And I feel like that was an opportunity missed by not having a conversation about that.
It's not like they couldn't have retconned it like they did with Cable.
Oh my gosh, Cable.
Because Cable shows all the way up through first season, and then all of a sudden, Cable's a mercenary from the future. It's like, what about the Cable that we were dealing with all through first season?
And they mention him by name. It's like, hey, there's Cable.
It's like, how do you know? And I could be wrong because let's face it, the Apocalypse, the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse episode in season 1 was months back at this point as of this recording. So I don't exactly remember what happened in that episode. But I remember watching this going, do you actually know his name is Warren Worthington III? Or do you only know him as Angel, an Archangel?
Right.
Yeah.
Because how are you calling him this and acting like, I guess it makes sense that Rogue would know because she did absorb his power. So she kind of should know, but.
Yeah.
Right. I would assume that Cerebro gave them information.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're left to
I
assume.
guess. And then we get to the relationship between Chip and Beast. And the entire time I'm watching this going, this really sounds like these lines were recorded with a different script and different things going on. And then you kind of work them back in there because Beast and hers just, their emotions do not match what's actually going on screen.
I agree.
So
it's
like,
so
what happened
weird.
here? This feels like you cut this from another story and crammed it in here for some unknown reason. It's not matching what's going on. And I'm supposed to believe this is a believable relationship? I'm just not following it.
There was something off about the way Beast lines were throughout the entirety of this, where it felt like he wasn't in the room, not in a, I'm super intelligent, I'm locked into the whole conversation about the computer, but like legitimately, it felt like the voice actor for Beast was just given the script and not told anybody else's stuff. He only had his script. Like the point where Angel's about to attack the machine and basically turn off the thing and free Apocalypse, Beast goes, Angel, no.
Yeah.
But that was like, it was like the most apathetic.
It's like,
it would have been like, no, like this passionate roar behind it.
And
I'm saying like, no, don't do this.
And the thing is, this relationship has to only take place over the course of an hour at most in universe time. And you expect me to believe he felt so horrible after she got killed because of Archangel that he's going Wolverine over this? Like as bad as Wolverine was acting when Jean died? It's like you didn't really, I can see
He's got a computer of a RAM chip, and
I can see you being disappointed that this wonder of engineering and this character who you were starting to get to know. I can see you being disappointed that that character is now dead. You don't have to go, Wolverine caressing this picture of Jean. That ship was not believable. That relationship was not believable. Is all I was trying to get at.
Oh, okay. So the idea that like they have to tie in the Shi'ar again with this, because
that was a cool idea.
That was a cool idea. I agree.
Episode where it's like, oh, we're gonna include this tech in our stuff now, and now Professor X is gonna voice the computer.
And the one that got me, like when the opening of this episode where Warren is just like screaming at people, it's like we got to find this and this guy walks in. It's like, oh, I know exactly his weakness. I'm like, it's like, obviously this is Apocalypse.
Yeah,
right.
The entire time it's like, let me see, and be like, oh, this thing behind his neck. Be like, that'll destroy him. It's like, and Warren's like, zoom. It's like, this is Apocalypse, guys.
Yes.
You're like, you fall right into my trap, kind of thing. And then, of course, Hank figures out, like, oh, we can actually trap this guy.
And then, of course, Archangel is like, no, you have to kill him. It's like, dude, he's trapped. He's not going to escape. This is like the perfect way to do it. Unless
I will not be night revenge.
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
True. Or in this case, cold hard steel.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, it was an interesting episode. The relationships were like, huh? Really?
Yeah, this is just weird.
It is weird. I can't wait to get into the Phoenix Saga. Or Dark Phoenix
when we get
Saga.
to Dark Phoenix Saga and we get past what this weirdness that's in the between, apparently. Or actually strange
Long Shot.
No, yeah, Long Shot I think is the next one.
Yeah, Long Shot's the next episode.
But I was trying to say the Strange Lands two-parter that's coming up.
That's right.
Where we're starting to get back into Dark Phoenix, I believe. So we got a couple weird ones in here.
A little bit.
It's going to be fun to go through.
Very weird ones.
So, yeah. We have anything else on these episodes before we cut out of this section?
It's episodes like this where I go, I can see why they canceled the series. And it makes me sad.
Exactly.
Right.
Like X-Men was such a big part of my childhood, and for various reasons. And the comics were so great at like this is prime X-Men comic book reading time frame. And some of the stories they pulled from obviously came from the 80s and 70s and stuff like that. And to see what they did with the animation, it's like, this is what happens when people are like, quick, let's just pump stuff out for money. And then there's no detail that's given.
Right.
And it's sad. I appreciate what it was, though. I appreciate that it got us into X-Men at the time. Let's be real. That's for the majority of us, that's how we got into it.
Yeah, exactly. We got into comics and they got into all this stuff.
Yeah, all of this, all the television shows, X-Men and DC is what got me into these things in the first place.
But
that were coming out this time.
Doing because I prepped for the show today, right? For this portion of it.
Right.
You know what this got me doing today? After I was done watching Silver Surfer.
Okay,
the cartoon
cool.
Silver Surfer.
Right.
Yeah, I'm
sitting
that.
Going.
It's not in the same Marvel universe for sure.
No, it's not. But at the same time, it's like it's that nostalgia feeling to it. There was something special in the '90s with the animation with Spider-Man and the Daredevil series they tried to do. In the Incredible Hulk series, the Iron Man series, there was something special in this time frame that was kind of magical, in my opinion.
Which
I hate that
weird in some ways because I can't look at any of the stuff from this era and not think, look how crunchy the storytelling is.
Yeah,
it's just like we're just throwing this out there and praying you catch it.
Yeah, basically. But there was something about it that it grabbed a generation, and it was there was something as terrible as some stuff was. There was something magical about it.
Agreed.
Yeah,
completely agreed.
So next week on the animated series, we're going to be looking at the episode's Long Shot, which is another episode involving the characters from
Mojo World.
Lovely
fun times,
and then Cold Comfort. So join us next week for that. Dallas, why don't you tell us where we can find y'all at?
Yeah, you can find us at geekdevotions.com, where you can find links to all of our social media platforms and the various things we do, like our weekly devotionals we put out on YouTube, and our various podcasts, such as the Gundam Watch, We Read Allegedly, Com Talk by Geek Devotions, and The Bottom Shelf.
Got to get on some of those episodes eventually.
Yeah.
We're restructuring a few things, so I hope they have you on, guys soon. Have you guys on soon.
Nice.
And you already know my request for Bottom Shelf.
Remind me one more time.
Certain evolution of a Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah. That's not on this year's list. We're doing guilty pleasures right now, and
Fair
so
enough.
Cards on the Table. The next film that we're looking at doing is Surf Ninjas.
I hear they must die, but past that, I don't know anything about them.
Oh my gosh, Surf Ninjas.
All right, cool. Other than that, I think that's probably going to be it for us tonight, guys. So in the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And this is Dallas.
And we'll catch you in the next frame. Every single week.
Deal it.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day.
I try.
His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron.
And his letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen.
His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography.
I'll update that one day.
His page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast. On Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming.
On YouTube at Cellcast.
On Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
It's a lot of custard.
You don't know why that's funny.
Oh my gosh. It's madness, I tell you. Madness! Madness! No, you're not doing it.
Madness? This is Sparta. No, wait, wrong movie.